Well, hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Island Church Weekly podcast, hosted by myself, but always joined by Pastor Will McRaney. Pastor Will, how you doing today?
Good, Matt. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well, doing well.
It's good to be in Central Florida right now, this particular week. So we shouldn't complain
Not
much about
anywhere else in the country. Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't you help folks understand a little bit more about what happened this weekend? Help them kind of see what God did a little bit more over Sunday service, and kind of talk a little bit more about that.
Oh, it was another great day, Matt. We continued on with the series of First Things First, and we looked at seeking God and pursuing Him, and so that was fun to do that. And in our School of Christian Living, we actually talked about different kinds of things. We had some different topics, and I got some feedback in different kinds of areas. But so that was a more casual time this week. But the worship service, really good. Quite a number of guests. Again, we had three. I think I mentioned to you before we started recording. We had three young people, probably 18, 19, 20, maybe they were 21. Two gals, two young ladies, and a young gentleman. And then several other new people that have repeated coming the last several weeks, and then another couple that was there that was new as well. So God continues to bring in people, so that was good, and had some great feedback on the message and on the Sandy and Marcia and Doris leading us through the worship time, the singing part. That was good as well. And then Sandy, after the service, she had prepared. We did we called it our apps, and we weren't talking about electronic apps, but appetizers. And so we had a good little fellowship time afterwards. We had prepared individual cup type things with appetizers in them, and stood around quite a long time having conversations, meeting new people. And so it's just a good time. Our church was being His church. We're a welcoming church and engaging with people, and that's what happened on Sunday. And people were quite responsive to the whole morning. It was another good day for us.
Awesome, very cool. Well, I know we have a lot of events coming up that are exciting. Some for our men's group, our women's groups are always just rock and rolling. Tell us a little bit more about some of the great opportunities to connect that are coming up.
Well, as usual, the women's group is strong again this year. Sandy and the ladies, they're just having a good time getting together, and it's a good casual time, but they really take that very seriously. It's not just a social gathering. They really are trying to grow and develop spiritually. So that's taking place. So we men can't get so far behind. So we've got our Tuesday. We'll meet again each Tuesday at noon. And also, we have a special event coming up on January 27th. We got Colonel Bob Rogers will be with us. He's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, been very supportive of me through the years. And he's just done all kinds of things from which to speak to us from. Vietnam veteran. He ended up serving in the Pentagon. He has advised presidents, 5 presidents. He's actually briefed them and trained them, 5 presidents of the United States. He's done special missions and operations, of which you can't really talk about. But he has done just about everything in terms of the military service that you can think of. And then he worked with the #1 intelligence agency after that as a principal, they call them principals, I think. I don't think it's partner. I think they're all principals at Booz Allen. And so he's done quite a bit. Then, of all things, he turned on a dime and he served as the CFO of the Southern Baptist Convention Executive Committee. Wow. So he has that's quite a different background. So Bob's just been faithful in his church and a leader, Sunday school teacher, and just been very supportive of it. So on January 27th, which is Saturday morning, we're going to have a great breakfast together. Men and food and breakfast always goes together good, right? I mean, it's hard to mess that up. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do that 8 o'clock. And then after that, we're going to engage with Bob and let him just talk to us about his life and his life of his faith journey and then his military journey, and he'll weave those two together. And then actually on the 28th, he's going to be preaching for us. He says, "Well, I'm not a preacher, and I know that, but he's spoken many, many times, obviously, from his position as a CFO, and so he has something to say about putting first things first. And so he's going to be speaking to us that Sunday morning on the 28th. So we're very happy to have Bob coming in. So I would encourage all our men to both make plans to come 8 o'clock. We don't do much on Saturday mornings. Make plans, get up here. Yeah. It's not too early. And also invite a friend. This is a great opportunity for if there's somebody that you've been praying for, thinking about inviting, this is a good opportunity to invite them to come. It's a men's only event, but if some ladies show up, we're certainly not going to kick any of them out. anyway, we want to certainly gather our guys together. So that's going to happen on that day. And then we got Momentum coming up. Momentum's always a fun experience. We reflect back on what God has been doing in our church and what's ahead. And it's a casual time. We do chili. We're going to do that on February 4th. So we'll have some great food just for maybe 45 minutes in advance. And then it's a good time to show some slides and pictures and talk about what God's been doing. It's pretty casual, but it's just a very encouraging time for our people. So those two big events,
Very cool.
January 28th, men's event, and then on February 4th. And then maybe you'll say something about life groups, or you can kick it back to me and I will. Always got life groups.
I mean, that's something that that Tom Crick has come on board with, and life groups have always been important at Island Church. Obviously, it's always the core kind of how we operate, how you become part of the church in a more kind of deep way. But life groups are going to be something that if you have not been part of a life group, or if you're kind of trying to figure out where's your place at Island Church, the best way to join one, I would say right now, is talk to Tom Crick, either on a Sunday morning while he's here in town, or you can always shoot him an email. And he is so excited to get people plugged into groups. Or if you're saying, you know what, I've been part of groups before, kind of feel God calling you to kind of maybe take a next step. Maybe you want to step up and lead a group, right? Start one out of your home, whether you host it, whether you want to find another place, a coffee shop, or maybe somewhere at the church to host one. There's always an opportunity to step up and lead a group. We're always looking for group leaders. So if you're either on the fence, kind of, I don't know, I've never been part of one, talk to Tom about joining one. And if you've been part of one and you feel like maybe God's calling you to a next step, hop in and try to lead one. So that would be my 2 cents on groups. Pastor Will, anything to add there? And then maybe how can folks be praying for the church this week?
Well, I certainly would just like people to get connected. That's the most important thing. We grow out of relationships with one another. I work hard towards preparing a message each week to bring that. But we want people feeding daily on God's word, and we want people connected relationally, because you're gonna see life change take place. We want to be a church where people experience real life and an authentic faith. We're not just doing religious activities, and that we need to laugh together, cry together, help one another grow together. I mean, all these things work together, and we just do this. And we're not just doing religious activities. We're actually engaged, as you know, Matt. We're engaged in eternal activities. We help people, men and women, change their eternal destination. That's what we're about as a church. And we want to help ourselves grow in that, reach out to the community so they can pray for the losses of our community. They can pray for this men's event coming up. That's a big thing. This past week, we had an initial restarting up of our expansion team, and at least some of the guys on the team. And we looked at some initial plans for the building. They'd be praying about that. I anticipate that in the coming weeks, we will share with the church some options as to directions where we go with the building. We must build a facility that bridges ourselves to the community and the community to us, so that we can build a bridge to Jesus. That's the end. That's the objective. And the church has to do this, particularly to young people and young families. That's the future. And so we must do this. We're going to continue doing the ministries that we're doing and actually just expand them. And that building is going to give us an opportunity to do that. So they can pray about the building, this men's event, and then just get connected. And so there's a lot of great things happening. 2023 was a challenging year for our church in some ways, but there's some great things still happening. God's still working.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. Well, Pastor Will, thank you so much for taking the time today, share your heart, share about what's going on at Island Church, and thank you for watching and always being part of the church. If you will, subscribe to the channel on YouTube so you can always stay up to date with everything happening, and we will see you on Sunday.